Hey guys, so anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big reader, and my favourite author ever is Stephen King. So basically, my favourite genre of books is like chilling thrillers, horror, stuff like that, which I really like, and I think it's just because I find it amazing how people write horror because they do it so well that you can actually picture the whole thing in your head. I mean, horror films terrify me. I can't watch them, but I can read the book. Like with Carrie by Stephen King, I can sit and read Carrie, but I can't watch the film at all. It would scare me half to death. But I'm just amazed by the way horror's written, and he's really good with what he writes. So a few of these books that I'm going to talk about are like that. Basically, I'm going to talk about my top 5 books of the last couple of months. And at the end of the year, I'm going to do a top 10 books of the whole of 2016. So yeah, let's get started. The first book I'm going to talk about is the first book I finished of the 5. It's not the first one I started, but we'll find out that later. It's called The Girl on the Train. I apologise, it's backwards. My webcam flipped stuff and I've not figured out how to sort it out. It's called The Girl on the Train. It's by Paula Hawkins. It came out in January 2015, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I don't think it's right. But it came out in 2015. And actually, it is due... Hang on a second. It is due to become a movie by DreamWorks, and I think it's due out in September this year actually, which I'm quite excited for because I really enjoyed this book. And it's about a girl called Rachel who commutes daily to London, which I know a lot of us do commute, not necessarily to London, but we do commute. And therefore it's very relatable because you stare out the window and you look at all the view, and basically the train that she gets always stops at a certain light, and or nearly always stops at a certain light. And she stares at these beautiful houses, and there's a couple living in one of them, and she's imagined this whole life for them. She's got names for them in her head. She doesn't even know if these names are right, but she does have these names for them. She's imagined personalities, what they're like, and I think a part of her wants to meet these people until she does become involved with them later in the book. I won't say for what reason because I'll spoil it, but she does become involved with them, and it's really good. Watching the way things unfold, well, imagining the way that things are unfolding by using this book, if that made sense. Using the words to paint a picture. The next book I'm going to talk about is the most recent book that I read of these 5. It's called The Ice Twins by S.K. Tremaine. I hope I said that right. And this again is a thriller. It's about a pair of monozygotic twins, 7-year-old girls, and one of them died, basically. Before the book started, one of them died. And it does explain in the book the tragedy. But it focuses on the surviving twin because their personality changes, and it suggests that the child that survived is Kirsty, and the parents moved to this remote Scottish island called Torrin by a lighthouse in order to put their lives back together, and they suggest that I lost my train of thought. They start to see changes in Kirsty, and when they try to take her to school, she kicks off and goes, "No, I'm Lydia. I'm not Kirsty. Kirsty fell. Kirsty died." And it all becomes quite worrying because you're just like, oh, did she die? Is it just her putting on? Is it a way of grieving? And then later on in the book, when the parents have accepted that it was Kirsty that died, this girl that's now Lydia has decided that now she's Kirsty and she's not Lydia. Lydia died. So it's all a bit confusing because you don't know which child has died. It's not till you get to the very end that you realise which one it was. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you that. But I do highly recommend this book. It was really, really good. The next book I'm going to talk about, I actually borrowed from a friend. I should probably give it back. It's called Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. Now, this is part of the Hannibal Lecter series, and it's the first of 4. The next one's Silence of the Lambs, then Hannibal Rising, which I plan on reading. and I really, really liked this book. And it's not often that horror books, like I read Stephen King books, like I said, it's not often that horror books actually make me scared, but when I was reading this, on several pages I had to close it and put it down and just go, because I could imagine the situation in my head so well. So it did scare me in parts, but it was really, really good, and I do recommend it to anyone who likes that sort of thing. And also thank you to Shaya for lending me that. The next book I read is a very, very, very popular franchise, so I'm not going to go into the plot too much, and it is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Now, this is my favourite book from the whole series, but it's my, second least favourite film. Deathly Hallows Part 1 is my least favourite. But I did really enjoy the book. I just feel, my problem with the film is I feel like they missed too much. I mean, I understand it can't be 10 hours long, because it couldn't be. I mean, I would watch it if it was, but it couldn't be. But I feel like there were a few key points in the book that could have been in the movie. Like, if you've read the book, the scene at the end in the King Cross train station with the Dursleys and the Order of the Phoenix, I feel like that could have been in the movie. It would have been a very interesting scene to see. But also, I did really enjoy this book. I liked how they described Umbridge as a character, because I feel it's really complicated to put across not a bad guy, not an evil person, but someone who's not necessarily a good person, and to put them across so that the audience hates them, but not hates them in a bad way, if you get what I mean. You need to hate them because they're so well done. And I think that's my feelings toward Umbridge. Like, the way the character acts, I absolutely loathe. So, I think that was very well done, and J.K. Rowling did a really good job of that. But yeah, the basic plot of that is Umbridge takes over the entire school of Hogwarts because she believes they don't need to learn defensive spells because no one's going to attack them, and the Ministry's refusing to believe that, if you've read Goblet of Fire, that a certain dark wizard has returned. The last book I'm going to talk about is related to the Order of the Phoenix. It's related to Harry Potter, not necessarily the Order of the Phoenix, but it's called The Tales of Beedle the Bard, and it's fairy tales for wizards and witches, but it can also be read to muggles. Now, if you've seen Deathly Hallows Part 1, you'll remember that in Dumbledore's will, he left a copy of this to Hermione, and since Dumbledore's death, and since the Wizarding War, Hermione has rewritten the fairy tales, translated from the original runes by Hermione Granger, and they've got, after each story, they've got what they called additional notes by Dumbledore himself, which it says were written about 18 months before he died. So they've fit them in quite nicely, his opinions on all of them. And what's really good is it's got underneath, next to some words, it's got numbers. So you'll notice it says squib there, and it's got a little 2 next to it. And at the bottom it says 2, and it describes what a squib is. So it's translated for muggles, who may not necessarily know what these means. I mean, if you've seen Harry Potter, obviously you will, but it's written as though it is one world, as if we live in the Harry Potter world, if that makes sense. So it's like a squib is a person born to magical parents, but who has no magical powers. So it's like the opposite of a muggle born. But it also says that that's rare. Muggle borns are much more common. But that is a really good book, and it's one of the spin-offs to the series. And it also makes a reference to the Harry Potter series by saying, hang on a minute. It says, as far as we can tell, the notes were completed about 18 months before the tragic events that took place on top of the Hogwarts Astronomy Tower. So that's how they know that the notes were written, roughly about 18 months before. And it says, those familiar with the history of the most recent Wizarding War, everyone who's read all 7 volumes on the life of Harry Potter, for example, So it tells you, it does make a reference to the actual Harry Potter series. There's 2 other spin-offs to the Harry Potter series, which is called Quidditch Through the Ages and is it called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which I'll be getting soon, and if I manage to read them before the end of the year, they may make the top 10, which would be pretty good. So I've read Order of the Phoenix. I actually started that before I started Girl on the Train. Like I said, it wasn't the first one I started, but it was the first one I finished. But Order of the Phoenix, I actually only finished this month. Not April, March. I forgot it's the 1st of April. But last month I finished it. It took me absolutely ages, which I was surprised by because I read The Half-Blood Prince in 3 days. I finished that yesterday. So I was a bit shocked that it took me a lot longer to read 100 extra pages. But I think it's just because Half-Blood Prince isn't that much shorter than that, but Goblet of Fire is significantly shorter than Order of the Phoenix. So when you go up from Goblet of Fire to that, it's quite a big difference. So you think it's a lot longer, even though it's really not. Especially when you get onto Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows. But yeah, those are my top 5 books for this year. For this month, couple of months. Not year. I'll do that at the end of the year. But yeah, I've got a target of 50 books to read for the whole year. I've currently read 23, and we're only in April, so I've got a good chance of getting to that. I really hope I do. The next book I'm going to read is The Art of Being Normal. I've had this for months, I think. I bought this a while ago. I've not read it yet, though. My camera just moved. My book's just fell out from under my camera. I'm going to read this. I'm also rereading the Roald Dahl series, which was my childhood books. I absolutely love Roald Dahl. I've read about 9 of his books again, and I'm currently reading the rest of them because he's got about 16 in a collection, I think, that I've got. But yeah, I might put some of those into my next month's video. If you want me to do a video every month on my top 5 books, then please leave a comment below, or send me a message on Twitter or Instagram, and I will do that. I have many 1,000 Stephen King books to read, so because I got a few new ones yesterday, but this will be the next book I'm reading, as well as what's the Roald Dahl? Hello, get out. As well as Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.